Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Can you all hear us? Let me know if you can hear us, please.
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are in the advanced practice seminar for Masters of Social Worker. But Master of Social Work students, and the students are on the other side of the desk, and so you can't see them, but this is an actual class. And so I appreciate all of you who are who have shown up. Maybe you are aspiring social workers, perhaps you are in the field of social work currently. But as the instructor, Dr. Kimberly Mays, for this course, it was my hope that I actually have a host of varying providers, social workers, come in to support our students and offer advice around varying areas of social work practice. And so that is how this came along. And so I appreciate you all showing up. And so the class, if you can say hello to everyone. Hello. And so I appreciate you all showing up. I do hope that you all gain great insight around today's topic. And our speaker today, Dr. Jenice Thompson, she is a licensed clinical social worker, and she will be focused on her topic today is focused around being a social worker in higher education. All right, this is recorded, and so I will send this out to you all once it is uploaded to the cloud for you to listen at a later time. And without further ado, Dr. Thompson.
Hello to you all. Wow. So I guess I missed the memo where there was a class happening, and then also those of us who are online. So hello to everyone, and thank you so much for coming out and sharing space with me today. It is an honor and a privilege to be here as a colleague to you all, the scholars. You guys will soon for sure be colleagues. So I am excited for you all, and excited that you are getting to gain knowledge from none other than the great Dr. Kimberly Mays. So I know she is giving you guys a wealth of information, and you guys are certainly lucky to have her. To those of you all who are on Zoom here, hello to you all also. I again thank you for taking the time to come out and spend a little bit of your afternoon on this Monday. I am in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it has been a little gloomy today, but it's a bright, sunny, shine day in my soul. So we'll just spread light and energy that way. Dr. Mays, can you share or make me host so that I can share my screen?
Yes, I will make you the host.
Thank you. So today we'll be talking a little bit about me. And as social workers, it's really hard for us to talk about the things that we've done in our career. But for me, for my vision board for 2025, it was for me to give back more and to be more of a mentor. And so I kind of put this in the caveat of mentoring and giving back when I feel dis-ease of talking about myself for so long. So bear with me as we delve into the world of Dr. J, which is what my students call me. All right. So Today, we're going to talk a little bit about higher education, the world of academia, but then also all of the different avenues within the world of social work that I navigate throughout, but also kind of where I came from, because it was a journey to get to the point where I am Dr. J, which is who you see in front of you today. So, thank you again for being here. I am Dr. Jenice Thompson. I am the owner and chief empowerment operator of Well Intentions, which is a mental health agency that just really engages in a holistic type of clinical space for ages 18 to I've had 68, 69-year olds. So a variety, but also, making sure that whoever needs a holistic care, and I will talk about some of the other certifications that I have later, which I added into the practice of being a holistic practitioner. Now, my career journey has been a long one. So I am a social worker to the core. I have a BSW, a MSW, and a DSW. So, when I am engaging in my day to day, it is with my complete soul, because you don't spend all of these years to get 3 social work degrees to not absolutely care about it. So I'm a Tennessee girl. I do live in Charlotte, North Carolina, as I stated a few minutes ago. But I grew up in East Tennessee, Kingsport, Johnson City, Bristol. If you kind of know that area is closer to Virginia and Knoxville way, but Gatlinburg, kind of down in the mountains. And that's where I got 2 of my degrees. And then the third one came from Simmons University in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you guys just a little bit about my historical upbringing. Again, I was born I'm sorry, I'm a Navy baby, so I was not born in Tennessee. I was born in San Diego, California, but I grew up in Tennessee. And my grandmother, who was very much so a part of my day to day growing up, was was not given the opportunity to go to school. So she had a 3rd grade education. And when I was in high school, I watched my grandmother go and receive her GED. And it was important for her because at that time, when she was her younger self, she was not allowed to go to school. Um, and so I will never forget why having those conversations with her about why are you at this age? Because I want to say she had to be in her late 40s or so, going back to school to get your GED, because our life was a good life. She was an entrepreneur, so she didn't really need it. And basically, she said, "This is for me."
Are you gonna watch this? Are you gonna watch this?
Janelle,
Okay,
we can hear you, Janelle.
Please.
Janelle Marie, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, I have no idea why that happened.
It's okay. I tried to send you a private message, but you didn't see it. It's okay.
So, so my grandmother with a 3rd grade education, watching her go and obtain her GED was my foundation for striving to do something different in the world of academia. So I am the 1st-generation graduate with a bachelor's, a master's, and of course a doctorate. Um, I do not take that lightly, but what it did do was normalize the world of academia for not only my children, but my children's children, and hopefully my children's children's children, right? The legacy of yes, we can go on and achieve the highest level of education if you so wish to do so. Um,
Dr.
And
Thompson, I'm sorry, if you
yes,
want to let anyone in the room who may be waiting.
I think I did. I have been. I don't know if you can see it, but
No,
I have been letting people in. Mhm.
okay, thank
Yes. Um, so well, let me double check. I don't think it's no one else in there. Um, so the legacy of the name, but also the achievement is a milestone. And now you understand very much so why it was important. Um, I think another milestone is when I realized I've been in the world of social work for several decades now. And I have my friends and colleagues who often remind me that I'm not the young social worker anymore. I'm getting older, and it's when I sit down and I think about it. And they have been times within my career that I've passed the baton. And once we get to some of the different career jobs, we'll talk a little bit about why I decided to move out the way, because it was no longer my jam to do um, some parts of the job, and how we have the ability, the flexibility and ability to do that in the field of social work. But yes, knowing that I do now have a wealth of knowledge to give back, and have worked in most of the areas within the field of social work. So that was a milestone. And then COVID. When COVID hit, everything changed. So um, I know that I'm not the only one on here that when COVID hit, it made you take a long look at the direction of your life overall, right? And so when COVID hit, I was the director of program operations for foster care for a serious, very large region in North Carolina. So basically, from the mountains to the water to the coast. And it foster care did not stop because we were in COVID. Foster care became very much so more intense, because for those of you who know a little bit about foster care, when there are disruptions within the homes, you can sometimes talk to the parents, foster parents, to keep the child, but there's times when they're like, absolutely not, move this child out of my home. And on a regular day, that could be an easy task, or it can be the hardest feat ever. Well, during COVID, it was the most difficult feat ever, because no one wanted to take anyone that wasn't in their home prior to the start of COVID. So there was that, but then there was also the issues with my staff. How do I keep my staff safe? You can't go into the homes. You have to see these kids. You got to know what's going on. The kids are not in school anymore, so you can't even just lay eyes on them. And how do we make this work? And again, that was from the mountains to the coast. So it caused me to think a little bit longer about my career, and I made the appropriate changes at that time. So challenges that we faced, or that I faced, I think if you're in the field long enough, you're going to engage in some burnout. You just are. And so having the ability to know when it was time to move on, um, and and choose me first over perhaps the client base that I was working with, is always a very difficult decision for social workers. Um, but not being burnt out. I want to normalize the conversation around being burnt out, because we work a lot. And to go down to my next bullet point, which is financial concerns. Well, if you're burnt out and you already have some financial concerns, because social workers, and I'm Dr. J, so right, we're going to keep it real in here. We're not going to be in here playing these games like we come out of the school and we're making six figures. That is not the case. That just is not the case. And I came in the field of social work at a time where it was really normal to pay social workers 30, 35,000 a year. And we were thinking that we were big baller shot collar when in reality, it was pennies, and definitely pennies for the amount of work that we've done. Now, has the field of social work done much better? Yes. You guys are coming out of your master's degree programs making $20,000 easily, maybe even 30,000 more than what was happening when I came out. But sometimes that's not even enough because everything is going up. And so the cost of living, depending on where you live, but I would almost venture to say, no matter where you live, the cost of living has increased. So, we will always face some financial concerns, but fight for what is yours. And we're going to talk about getting into good trouble in a little bit, but fight for higher wages because we do a tremendous amount of work. And then again, challenges is growth. Growth is not always comfortable. Actually, it's uncomfortable sometimes, most times. So, growth, being stretched, which is what some of you guys are being in the world of academia right now, being stretched. It all will work out for your good, but in the storm of it all, it is again, there is discomfort, right? Dis-ease that occurs within our soul. So that's just a little bit about my career and journey. Dr. Mays, are we going straight through, or can I stop and see if anybody has any questions or concern?
It's up to you. We can go straight through, or if you want to stop, it's up to you.
Okay. Well, before we move on, does anybody have any major questions that can't wait about what all I just stated here? And I can't see everybody, but
So I don't see any questions just yet, and none of the students have any questions right now.
cool beans. All right. So my current work and my focus. As I talk to you guys about burnout, I do a lot of things. If I was on here with anyone else other than Dr. Mays, I might could give you guys the short and skinny, but because she is also my friend, I will give you guys the all of the things. So I am the CEO of Well Intentions LLC, and I do have interns and employees that I work with. I also am currently working on a grant to start a empowerment program for young girls that have some connection with DJJ, right? The juvenile justice system. So that's my baby, but it is always requires quite a bit from me. I am also the assistant professor in the Master of Social Work program at Limestone University. And also I am assistant professor at Utica University in New York. And I also teach adjunctly at two other universities, Carlow University and Southern New Hampshire. And it's all of it happens. Yes, all of it happens. All of it happens with the good schedule, you all. Okay. So I'm old school. I still write things down in my calendar, my planner, that I go to Target about every November and get a new one for the next year. So if I don't physically write it down, the chances of it happening is slim to none. So I definitely do write everything down. I operate in a leadership capacity. As I stated prior, I was the director of program operations for foster care. I've also been assistant director of foster care. I've been a therapist that was just only operated in that capacity, intensive in-home, all of the things, right? Groups, all of the things. So all of that has been a accumulation of who I am today, which then only leads me right into the realms of leadership, mentorship, and professional development of those that one day we will completely pass the baton to, because we will rest. And I am a firm believer in the next few years, I'm going to rest. And so when I rest, when I retire, I want to know that I've done all that I can to give back to the field that has been a good career for me. So I also, of course, am a business owner and operate in academia at a very high level. And I assist with field placements as I have interns that work for Well Intentions. I love to develop courses. So I'm a course developer. I design at a very impactful, very bell hooks, very learner-centered programs, meaning that there are going to be many ways in which we can learn in a course that I design. Because a lot of times the course designer does not always teach the class. But anytime there's the opportunity to design a course, I always raise my hand, because it gives me the ability to make sure that all of our the frameworks, again, the learner centered framework is used, but then also that everything in the course is very inclusive and diverse. That is important to me. I don't want to see one of anybody. I don't want to read the whole time. I don't want to watch movies or videos or YouTubes the whole time. I don't want to watch TED Talks the whole time, but a little bit of this and a little bit of that then makes for a really great balanced class. So certainly enjoy um, designing courses, and of course implementing teaching modalities that again is learner centered for my scholars, so that again, when it's time for me to bow out to the left, we're good, because we've worked really hard to get to that point. So a day in the life. So yes, I'm a mentor. I'm a mentor in many ways. I'm a mentor way past social work. There are young ladies that I've mentored that are in communication communication majors, and that I've met because they took a social work class or a diversity class or something. So, having the pleasure and honor to engage in conversation and learning with others as they grow is certainly something that I intentionally do. I definitely work with the diverse populations across many socioeconomic backgrounds. As I stated, I work in the schools from South Carolina, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and then Southern New Hampshire, which is online. All of the schools are online actually, but then also with my practice there, it is online, although I do have a brick and mortar that I use as needed. My preference is virtual, and you guys could guess because I have so many moving pieces that me traveling back and forth to any one place is ticking away at my time and my schedule for the day. So I definitely do choose to do virtual, but there is a way to connect that is meaningful and empowering during a virtual setting. I am very, very big on inclusivity of environments, meaningful connections. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but networking, right? You guys are in a room with, I don't know how many people, but it's more than 2 or 3. So it's the ability to then foster meaningful connections that will last not only while you guys are in this similar situation, but also in your future when you'll be able to call your person to the left or to the right, and they will absolutely pick up your phone call because they've been in the same situation and setting as you have. And your friends will never understand what it is to be in a master's program and have to write papers and all of that. But the person to the left and to the right certainly will. And those are the connections that you will have. I recognize that I'm an expert in the field for many reasons. A lot of it is because I spent a lot of time practical, but also in learning and achieving the highest learning degree for the field of social work or for the degree of social work. So the facilitation and leadership, again, and mentorship is big, giving back. There are some things that I give back freely. My intellectual property in the mentorship, it's no amount of money that I could be paid for what I know will happen in the long run. So again, we talked about financial concerns. There are some, get your money where you need to get your money, and then what fills your heart, operate in a space that fills your heart, in those spaces where you can. Always act in you saying something?
Yes, I want to pause you right there. Can you
Okay.
expand on get your money where you get your money and do the things that fill your heart?
Mm-hmm. You want me to speak on it?
I do.
Oh, so what I have realized is that because we spend so much time as social workers, we want a good life. We want a good life. And that means that we are at times, okay, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys right now. All right, transparent parent moment. So when I was the director of program operations, there was only one other person ahead of me, and that was the executive director. Outside of that, it was the CEO. So no one came to either of them, of course, they all came to me. But as you guys can see by my degrees, I am a social worker at heart. So I needed to be engaging with people. However, for 15, 18 years, I'm chasing the six figures, right? We're being real and honest. What is it? I aspire to listen and not judge. Is that what's the new saying, Kim?
I don't know. We listen and we don't judge.
Yes, we listen and we don't judge. So that's what I'm asking of you all right now. So in that space, I was dealing with numbers, putting children in beds, meaning, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, like we had to make sure the beds are filled, but that's money. The money then dictates how we're going to get paid, how the staff gets paid. And there's typically at that level quite a bit of money. I was not hurting for money. I was not. I was living the best life. However, I was looking at numbers and counting beds all day. The supervisors and directors only communicated with me. I would go to the meetings every 90 days or so and just try and hang out with during the staff meetings. And no one ever wanted to hang out with me because of the position. No matter how I tried to normalize, look, I'm a social worker. Like, I'm not trying to harm anybody. I'm just here. It was like the kid at the playground that wanted to go play, but I couldn't, nobody would play because of my positionality at that time. So understanding positionality and our power within our positions or as social workers. But nonetheless, I was doing nothing that engage with my heartstrings. And so that is where well intentions came in, because it was a way for me to tap back into something that made me smile, which is giving back. So to be completely honest, I think we all will kind of chase the dime at some point, but whenever you do, just find your way back to what makes your heart smile. So yeah.
I wanted you to talk on that because I've talked about how, as a social worker, we have our brain, we like to be very diverse in the things that we do. And it doesn't always have to be in one pot in terms of how you know, generate revenue or income for your household. And so sometimes, exactly to what Dr. Thompson shared, which is sometimes you make the dollar because it makes the dollar, right? And then your hard work is something else. And so that is very real in our field, as I mentioned, when it comes to how we navigate, how we are basically scratching that itch, whether it's the dollar or whether it's filling our heart's passion. Because sometimes you're not gonna get it all in one place. And that's okay, right? So thank you for explaining.
Yes, absolutely. And early on, yeah, probably not. But you know, you'll figure out the equal medium for you. But so for me, also striving to uplift, guide, equip individuals. That's why I love MSW students and mentorship, because it's all about the equipment. Again, you might feel stretched and it doesn't feel fun, but to learn how to do something different, to utilize a different muscle of any type it will be some soreness. And it's the same way in the world of academia. And then again, witnessing a personal and professional transformation that happens over time, right? It's not a quick thing. So skills, what are some of the skills that we would need, you know, as social workers? And, you know, we want to have a very high awareness of our empathy and our emotional intelligence, understanding and supporting the needs of others, but not overly immersing ourselves, right? Because there's a thing such as the NASW Code of Ethics that states that we can, and I won't get into being a whole professor today, but you guys know what the Code of Ethics states. So we want to not extend sympathy, but engage in a space of empathy and emotional intelligence. Adaptability. One thing about being a social worker is we know how to adapt and we know how to problem solve. And that is what we're learning regularly. We have to navigate challenges and tailoring approaches, even if you're using let's say CBT or motivational interviewing or EMDR, whatever modalities you're using. It's not a cookie cutter. Like, you have the design, yes, you have the framework, yes, but what you do for one might not look the same for what you do for the next person. So having that adaptability. Some of you guys are going to work in the field of crises. Well, it's always going to be something different. In foster care, it was always something different. So I always enjoyed it because it was never a dull moment. But this also gives us the skills to take for you know, if we choose, and we'll look at this a little bit later, but to engage in other disciplines also. We also have to be an active listener and also a good communicator, because people are listening to us. But we have to hear what our person that we have the privilege of serving is stating to us when we're engaging. So social workers, again, we lean in with empathy, grand emotional intelligence, on top of having the ability and then critical thinking skills, then to active listen, and then know how to communicate, understand what's going on with our verbal and non-verbal cues, because they all matter. And then with confidence, make a decision, right? With confidence, meaning, yes, I belong at the table. Yes, I know what's being stated. Yes, I know that if I do this, then this is the end goal, and I'm going to put a plan together to show how we get from A to Z. And that's what we as social workers do. And we have to do so with patience and resilience, in a way that when we don't get our way at the table, we don't completely fold, okay? Because we might not always get our way. Same thing as you guys are in school, you may or may not get your way. For those of you all who might not be in school and you're working, your boss might disagree with what you're stating. Nonetheless, we don't fold, we learn, stretch, feel the pains from the stretch, and then we grow and move from it. So those are skills that as social workers we can take in any setting, not just social worker, not just social work, but any settings. So I started out talking about good trouble. Find some. One thing that I really like about this generation of social workers is I've not had to teach any of my students how to advocate. You guys know how to advocate. You know how to say, I like it, I don't like it, let's change, all of the things. However, there's a way back to communication. There's a way that we get from advocating to now people are listening and going to move forward with what was stated in the initial request. So find you some good trouble. But when you get into some good trouble, does everybody know what good trouble means? Let's start there. Does everybody know what good trouble is?
No.
Okay. So good trouble. Good trouble is when, I'll give an example. Let's say that I'll use me as an example. Let's say that you're interning at, or even working at Well Intentions, my private practice. And at Well Intentions, you notice that my clients were coming to the office, and then we would go maybe to the back office and have dinner together. And we just were crossing some really interesting boundaries. So, and you're looking at it, you're like, this doesn't seem right, but you're newer, so you don't want to get fired, but at the same time, you want to speak up. So good trouble would encompass you stating, coming in and saying, during supervision or something, hey, Dr. J, yeah, so I noticed you and such like eating dinner together, and I kind of know what the code of ethics states about boundaries. So can you help me with that? So good trouble is I'm going to state what I saw wrong. Now, I've learned the art of walking through the back door versus kicking the door in. So the back door is what I just gave an example of. Kicking the door in is, hey, Dr. J, I seen you and such back there eating dinner, and I know the code of ethics states that that is not supposed to happen. So can you explain this a little bit more? Now, on that second one, in any situation with any supervisor, you're not going to be met with the best response, right? So that's what I talk about, knowing how to advocate, but then also knowing how to get in there versus the message being missed because of the delivery. And so also, I think one of our new innovations, innovations and trends would be the capabilities of AI, Chat GPT, but it's so many, right? Chat GPT is just the one everybody talks about. You got to know how to use it and not be unethical. And I know that we're writing the rules around what is ethical and what is unethical. Well, I'm gonna tell you what's very unethical is if you put the question in and you cut and paste it and submit it like it's yours. That's what unethical is. Now, I think the line becomes gray when, let's say, you put the question in, you get some ideas, and then you write it in your own, your own words. That's a little bit of a better situation. Again, we're kind of writing the rules around that now, but the whole complete copy and move over, that none of that is your work. but to use it as a prompt, I guess, to kind of like your brain was freezing and you couldn't think of any ideas, and then you get some ideas, and then it helps to trigger your writing, then yes, yes. But to cut and paste, that's an absolute no. But again, there's many capacities that AI is being utilized for, and it is not just writing discussion board questions or research papers. It's many, many capabilities, from designing websites to all of the things. So not being afraid as social workers to tap into the trends, but having some morals, values, some ethics around how you will deliver what you're tapping into as far as technology. Because my hopes is that we'll be in some of those rooms when there's conversations around how do we ethically deliver this product. I think we should be at all the tables and not be afraid of it. That certainly is somebody's jam that I know that they won't be scared to be in. But for me, that's not my jam. So I'm not getting ready to act like I want to be in the AI meetings, but I would love to know what the conversation is to continue to grow around that. So don't be scared of what's happening out here around us. So this is a shameless plug. Um, the Audacity to Be Resilient is my book. So you can go find it on Amazon, really any platform, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, wherever you want to find it, you can find it. Or you can email me or reach out to me on LinkedIn and or email me, and I can get it at a discounted rate from what is being sold on Amazon and some of the other platforms. But The Audacity to Be Resilient is a book that I wrote that has a twist on the topics of resiliency and what does that even mean. But I tagged it here at this point because we're talking about interdisciplinary connections and having a growth mindset. Well, guess what? We're authors too. And there's some of you guys who like to make vlogs and all of that. Yeah, we need you guys too. So to think out of the box of what just we know to be traditional social work, okay? Again, a growth mindset. And remember, you belong in the room because we always want to operate in a holistic care mindset. We're not just dealing with the mind and not dealing with spirituality and the physicalness of the body, although we as social workers, we very much so shy away from spirituality, but it's a part of the everyday experience that, we have to get out of the scarce mentality of not wanting to have that conversation. But most certainly your physical body, the brain doesn't operate, or the body doesn't operate without the brain. So, when people's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get my body is great, but my mind is horrible. I need to see a therapist, and they will continue to choose to go to the doctor and never go to a therapist. That's a lose-lose situation. Okay. So these interdisciplinary connections are necessary. Um, we excel in those spaces because we're the one that's going to humanize our persons that we have the privilege of serving. And as you hear me, you don't hear me saying this is our client, this is our client, this is our patient. No, it is a privilege for us to be in those spaces and serve those people. Yes, there is the power, there is a positionality. We don't have to write it on our foreheads to know that we have it, but we do have to honor the space. So we have the privilege. Same thing as being in interdisciplinary rooms. Yes, we have the privilege, but we can get in good trouble into that space too. The doctor says, hey, I think this patient, if we're in a medical facility, needs to go home, but you've been working with him or her, they or them, and the decision is, yeah, no, I don't think so. That's good trouble. Stand up to that person. Again, deliver it in a way that is going to be heard, not in a way that's going to operate in frustration.
Thank you for saying that, Dr. Thompson. We actually talked about interprofessional collaboration today, and that comment that you just shared in terms of making sure that we advocate in a way that is not focused on our implicit biases or anything else, but focused on showing up in a way that we know is ethically sound for the patient or the client. So thank you for saying that.
Yes, love it. Love it. So that was just to make sure that you guys got it, because we didn't have that conversation at all. So, career advice. Remember, you're always learning. I'm a consummate learner. I learn every single day. Yes, I have 3 degrees, but I don't know all the things about all the things, okay? So, remember that, like, you're always in a learning space. But social work is a specialty. So, build your skills now. This is the time. If you're trying to learn it in your internship, where in most cases you won't get fired. There is some understanding that, hey, I'm learning. And then stay informed. Know what is going on. Know what's going on. Okay. Oh, no, sorry. Know what's going on out in the world, and network early in your career. Again, your colleagues to the left and to the right of you are just that. They're going to be your colleagues in the field of social work one day when you guys are out and about. Your networking with your professors are imperative. You're going to need them one day. Can you write me this? Can you help me with that? What do you think about this? Your advisors, all of those things. So you want to network early. And then again, your transferable skills that we spoke of just in the last few slides, which is being a critical thinker, being a team player, being empathetic, awareness of self and others, and then collaborative work, which again ties into your interdisciplinary type of modality of thinking. And then for career paths, find your jam. What excites you? If you don't like kids, please don't work in foster care. It's not your jam.
It's funny you say that because I say it all the time. They know I do not work with kids. So thank you for saying that. It's okay to know what you like and what you don't like.
Yes, indeed. I never wanted to work in geriatrics. It's a very simple reason for me. It was, I knew that I could not engage in the code of ethics because all of the grandmothers and grandfathers that would be in the nursing homes or whatever would be my my grandmother and my grandfather. So I already knew I was going to cross the boundaries because I would never be able to be disrespectful. Not that I will at all, but it would be like I would be the child always. And that is not okay. That is not the manner in which we should be operating in. So, what does excite you? And if you don't know, then operate in your internship in a space to go figure it out. Because again, this is a time when you can it works or it doesn't work. But if it doesn't work, then you only have a few months to weeks to get those hours done. And certifications, get as many as you can. I bet I've had so many certifications over the year that I can't even count on my hands and toes 2 times. So get as many certifications as you can. Every therapeutic modality that your every therapeutic modality that is being given at your internships, while you're at your jobs, anything that you can go and get a certificate. I put the CHWC, so Certified Health and Wellness Coach. I have that certification. I actually can teach a course over the weekends if I wanted to, so that people could then get the certification to go take the board exam. Now, I didn't need that because I'm a social worker, right? But I went and got it. For one, because I wanted to see what they were teaching coaches. I was curious, so it took me to the door. And what I realized is they just pulled from our motivational interviewing, and that's what it is. And but less clinically, I guess, because being a coach, a health and wellness coach, you can be in any discipline. So in my cohort, there was a few psychiatrists. I was in there. There was a few. Oh goodness, what was that other doctor? Ophthalmology maybe. So it was different people from different disciplines. Again, I was in a room with disciplines who were asking me, well, how do you do this? Because they didn't have the tools nor the skill. And so I'm learning just what I'm watching what they're teaching. And then of course I ended up teaching quite a bit of it. But it is something that kind of took off during COVID. So I was like, let me just see what they're doing. But also, there are people that you will have the privilege and honor of serving in any capacity that will choose the language of having a coach versus a therapist. So it was also a business thing for me too. So I could just say, well, I do have this certification also. And again, I do have some males who call me coach, and that's okay, right? I don't get caught up in what someone calls me that I know is operating in my services to work to better them at their to their core. So I got that certification. Leadership certificates. There is more than just, servant leadership and adaptive leadership and, some of the ones that we hear regularly. So find you some leadership workshops to go to and then get some of those. And then just remember, there is no end to your learning. There just isn't. You should always be learning. Always. You have never arrived. Okay. My grandmother used to say that. She would say, baby, I don't care how smart you get, you've never arrived. And I feel like I've arrived a few times, but then I'll get humbled because somebody will say something that I have no idea what they're talking about. And then I realize, you know what? She was always right. Even with that third grade GED education, she was the most intelligent woman that I know to date. So, just knowing that we're always learning. So just a few opportunities here, potential career opportunities. So of course you can be an assistant professor. That's me. Love it, love it, love it, love it here in this world. You can be an associate professor. One just means that you've been there longer, but it's all the same work. You can be the dean, which I aspire to be. That is a tremendous amount of work, but you're leading not only your department, but the actual school. So the School of Health and Science, the School of Health and whatever. And again, all of those skills that we spoke about 40 minutes ago, those are the same ones that we're going to need in any of these positions. Department chair. Department chair is also a major position. The dean doesn't get involved in the day-to-day operations of your different disciplines. So in our case, the discipline of social work, but the program chair does, and the program chair decides who is coming into the program, who is not, who does not make it through the program, all of the things. I do, and Dr. Mays mentioned this to me earlier. I do a lot of department chair job duties. And so that's from scheduling. I schedule all the professors and adjuncts loads. Loads simply means are the number of classes that one would have to teach per their contract. And so your assistant and associate professors are under a contract, but your adjuncts are not. And so, you know, I do all the loads, communicate with the professors and the adjuncts, and make sure that everyone is making sure they're meeting their load. And then also I do a lot of fire putting out, a lot of making sure that the team is working together, that we're doing all of the checks and balances that is needed to run a program. So, but that's not my job title right now. That is assistant professor is what my current job title is. You can work in the student counseling services. That's always a fun one too, because it's a good mix of doing therapy and then just engaging in some of the case management skills needed for those that are coming to seek services within your university. Academic advising. I love academic advising. Again, how do we meet the needs of the person that we have the privilege of serving, along with maintaining their academic journey? So sometimes the conversation is not, yeah, let's keep pushing. Sometimes the conversation is, hey, maybe we need to take a break right now and come back. Those are the hard conversations, but it's not leave forever. It is come back. Policy and advocacy work. Again, if you like to get in good trouble, this is your space. We need you in DC right now. So if you want to get into that, and the NASW is always looking for people to sit on the boards and all the things, though that's your area. You want to go to your different houses, your government houses that are in your different cities. Yes, that is for you. That is for you. And program development. I think Dr. Mays put this there on purpose. I also developed a part-time program and restructured the whole generalist program at a university also. So yes, you have the ability to your program develop, but also, as you guys heard me state earlier, like course design too. So all of that kind of goes in one. Okay, now I am tired of talking, but I made it through almost a full hour of talking to myself about myself. I mean, which is just wild, but we did it. And so now I'm excited to talk to you all and answer any questions that you guys may have.
Appreciate you going through a lot of what you talked about in terms of your journey. It definitely has been a journey that encompasses a lot of what is necessary for you to be successful in higher education. Leadership skills, the ability to be able to be malleable and adaptable in terms of program development and all of the different changes with policies and laws and things like that that come down the pipeline. I know that a good bit of people, a lot of folks want to get into academia, but always feel discouraged because they don't have the experience offhand. And so if you can answer, I guess, the question around what does it look like getting into academia, and like how can one, tap into getting a job in academia of some sort?
Yeah, so again, we're keeping it 100 in here today. After an hour, we're family now. So that's about as real as this conversation is going to get. Two things. I think I stated at least 5 times that networking is important. And networking is important also for academia. If you are trying to get into academia with no experience and you don't really have someone that you've networked with, you know, within whatever amount of time, it's not the easiest door to get into. However, that's why I say communicate with your professors and the people that are around you, because people will, they may or may not, that saying, they may or may not remember your name, but they will remember how you made them feel, right? So if I say to you, or you say to me, no, remember we met at X, Y, and Z, and I remember having this warm interaction with you. And then you say, hey, but I'm trying to get on over here. Any tidbits? If we've had a good connection, right? The network did what it needed to do. Then I'm like, oh yeah, well, I do know this person, this person, this person. Let me just ask. And then the next person is connected to someone that you're not connected to. So getting into academia just isn't the easiest world to get into. It is not. I am not going to act like it is, because it's not. But I would advise that if you don't have the experience and you don't have the credentials, meaning in most MSW programs now, you can't teach with the MSW. So if you're MSW, then you can teach in the BSW. And there's not many associate, I don't know of any associate associate social work degrees, but so there, you can teach at like the community college level and 1 or 2 semesters, and then build yourself, your CV up to where you've taught a few classes. But teach, if you're trying to get in the door, teach different trainings, right? You have to show that you know how to teach. Just because we speak well does not mean we're a good educator. And that's just, we've all had some professors that we love, and we have some professors that we hope not to ever see again. But it was a lesson in either of those experiences. So start teaching as many trainings and workshops as you can. Go into whatever learning institution you can get in and build, even if they're kind of paying you pennies, right? At that particular point, you're not going in to get rich, you're going in to get the experience, because the money's going to come. The money is going to come.
That's good. So one of the points that I wanted to you made was that adult learning, right? So trainings, workshops, all of those things that you do at your job or volunteering count towards adult learning, right? But one of the things that you said, which really makes a difference, is that you can teach, but you're not a good educator, right? So you can relay information, right? Anyone can read slides, but if you do not have the educator teaching pedagogy, the ability to be able to teach adults and make sure that someone is learning information, retaining information, critically thinking, then it can be very hard for you to land a role in academia. However, it's not impossible if you start within the realms of what she mentioned, right? Because I know a lot of people like to adjunct, right? And so you don't necessarily have to become a full professor, but a lot of people like to teach a course or two just because they want to teach. And it can be very hard to get in. Not can be, it is, right? Can you talk about your journey in terms of teaching and the ability to be resilient in the beginning with starting in academia?
Yeah. So I did pretty much the blueprint I just stated to you all. That was my blueprint. So I started teaching in the community college here in Charlotte. It's Central Piedmont Community College, and it actually had nothing to do with social work. It was a leadership class. And I knew, let me back up just a little bit. I knew that at some point I would want to get into the world of academia. And again, it was during COVID, during all of that. What do I want to do? That, the thoughts started to become a little bit more real that maybe now is time to kind of change directions. But the I worked 1 or 2 semesters at the community college, and then I took an adjunct position at Utica University, where I am at full time now. And I did 2 classes every term. Now, I'm not sure of how this program is set up, but the master's level students at Utica go for 8 weeks for one class, 8 weeks for another, and then that's the semester. Instead of taking 2 classes per semester, they just break them down in 8 weeks. So I had the ability to teach 2 classes each term as an adjunct, which was really great money, probably more money than some of the full-time staff was making or faculty, because adjunct pay, depending on where it is, could be a little bit more. And so at that point, I was going to all of the faculty meetings. I did not have to go to the faculty meetings, but I went. I went to learn. I went to see how they were operating internally. I went to hear how the program director would lead, and how the full-time faculty felt, and all of the things. So when it came time to moving up to a full-time position, it actually wasn't difficult at all, because I was already going to these meetings. I was already very much so engaged. So that's another thing, right? Back to networking. You want to be engaged. If they have a meeting every other Tuesday or every other Wednesday, and you can block that off from your calendar, at least to pop your head in and say, hey, just want to say hi. So when it's time to hire, because professors are moving from colleges regularly, so, or we're growing tremendously. So there's always, or could always be, an opportunity to come from adjunct to full-time faculty. And it's easier to choose you from adjunct because all of your documents are already within the system, and they just change the number amount for your salary. So I did that. And then I decided, oh, what was the second school? Maybe it was Carlo. Went to Carlo, and I taught in their MSW program, and then they called me back and said, hey, can you teach in the BSW program? And again, remember I spoke about know what your jam is. So at that point, I had not worked with BSW students, because I have always worked with adults in MSW. And so that was my first time working for 14 weeks maybe with the undergraduate. And I learned early on that that's not my jam. I don't want to work with undergraduate students. Give me the master's level students. And so, right, I didn't know, but I knew then that it wasn't my jam. And but I continue to work in their MSW program. Concurrently, Southern New Hampshire had reached out, because sometimes universities take a really long time. So they reached out one week and asked me, could I teach online success and cultural something. And I was like, yeah, sure, because I'm always interested in seeing what other universities are doing. And then my current place of employment, well, they're all current, but the full-time jobs, that's where I do a lot of work in that program. And yes, I do still see my people that I have the privilege of serving.
Yes, so that's a lot. And so I wanted to just kind of get some insight on that because I know even in my journey, I can attest that sometimes just starting in higher education is very, very hard to break in. So you have to be resilient with that. Does anyone have any questions in the room? Yes.
Curious that you're the coaching certification
Yes.
as well. And when you're hired to coach someone, do you have a distinct approach you take versus working with them from a therapy standpoint?
So his question was, do you have a distinct approach between coaching and therapy?
So no, I don't, because I'm a therapist at heart, but so at that point it's more of just a name, right? A title versus the modalities or the frameworks that I'm engaging in. The framework is the same, whether I'm dealing with we're doing more solution focused type therapy, or whether we are really kind of in the trenches and I'm doing inner childhood work. Whatever it is, in my position, they're still getting the full therapist. They're getting Dr. J. However, those that did not have the background that I have in mental health, that was in the cohort that I did, they would only be giving coach, which is a small, again, it is a very small fragment of what we do. So it is very, very solution focused, very quick, smart goals, right? So we're talking 3-month type solution focused skills, because they're really only dealing with quick motivational interviewing, like, hey, you can do this, let's put a plan in place, because that's the skills that they have. But for me, of course, it's a much different lens that I'm looking through. So they get the full treatment, and also they get the full treatment amount. So they're, whether they want to call me coach or whether they want to call me Dr. J, they're still paying for a session.
So we don't have any more questions in the room. Anyone in the Zoom chat have a question that they want to ask?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Kenny.
Excuse me, good evening. Or I'm sorry,
Hello.
I didn't mean to say good evening. Good afternoon, Dr. Mays, Dr. J. This has just been absolutely wonderful. North Carolina Central University here in Durham. Just wanted to reach out to you. I've been trying to figure out how can me and Dr. J meet for a cup of tea in between Charlotte and Durham. I'm trying to figure that out. But
No, actually, so you're at Central?
I'm a professor at Central, yes.
Yes.
For
Well,
Department of
let's connect on LinkedIn, because I am a boy mom, and I have a junior who has picked his top two choices for school. Central's one and VSU is the other one. So
Wow.
I actually will probably be up there more sooner than later.
Oh,
So we can
wow.
connect for sure.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you both for having this. I just want to say um, a lot of what you mentioned is just so confirming and so valid. I got a couple new slang words that I've not used, so I'm going to be using some of that. But it's really interesting. I'm doing a research study on the public's perception of social work as transformational leaders. And some of the
Ooh,
things that I
that's
have
good.
found and I share with my students, how are we, one of the concerns is that the public is still confused about our role of what we do. Even interdisciplinary teams are confused. And so I try to put myself on camera, but I don't look all that great. I try to, so you guys, hello.
Oh, you look beautiful.
Thank
No.
you. But they're confused. The public's confused about our role. And one of the things that I share with the students is, how do we show up one of the important, the professionalism. Professionalism was not taught as strong when I was in graduate school 100 years ago, and also self-care was not taught, was not really part of the teaching and understanding when I was in graduate school. So you shared a lot of things that was not taught to our generation of social work training, but now it's being displayed and taught very intentionally. I'm sure Dr. Mays, you both are really doing a phenomenal job in the teaching. So I just want to just to share. I'm just like, it sounds like, you've been in some of the rooms I've been in, saying this, you've been in my classroom and same thing you're sharing is what I've been teaching too. So it's just really been wonderful and refreshing. And social workers are the most creative.
Yes.
I mean, we're so creative. I have a creative arts academy that I teach dance and how to use dance movement to help ease depressed moods and anxiety. And I'm just like, how can I put two things that I love? I love creative arts so much. And it took me 20 years to figure out how I can put those two together with social work. I mean, so I just want to thank you for the conversation and the platform. And I hope to meet you too, Dr. Mays. It'll be wonderful to meet you too. I'm all about networking and connecting. And we need each other. So I'll just say that. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing some of what you shared. I had to put it on mute, but I'll tell you, I was telling my students a lot of what you both mentioned today. I talked about in class. So I told them, you all confirm that I'm not crazy and I know what I'm talking about. Because yes, you are correct. Some of the things that were not taught when we were in school, it is a necessary tool for them to be successful. We've had to figure it out on our own, and clearly we're wanting this generation of social workers behind us to learn that now. So that's good, and I appreciate it so much. And in terms of networking, I appreciate you coming off of mute and actually talking about networking, because that's something that we're going to be touching base on in this course, which is the importance of networking, right? And so thank you so much. Thank you. Does anyone else have a question or thoughts in the Zoom?
Hey, this is Kim. I just wanted to say hello.
Hometown.
I love this.
So Kim, me and Kim, another Kim. Oh no, Kim, hi.
So I will be connecting with you. I need to do some more networking. So yes, I'm working on my DSW and hope to be in academia soon. I'm over here in water right now and in this DSW. So
I know it. And you all, I've known Kim since probably my BSW days. We've done the whole social worker back in East Tennessee together, and she makes me smile. We used to work together like in all of the things. So, and here we are in 2025, and she's going to get her DSW, and of course she knows I am here to support her in any way that I can. And also, right, back to this whole networking thing. If Kim calls me and she's like, hey, Jenice, right? Because I'm not Dr. J to her, but we will respect each other's titles and positionalities for sure. And she's like, hey, is there any options? Again, because of that relationship, that's an easy move. Yeah, like let me see. And if not, let me make some phone calls. And that's just how simple as that's how it works. And for Penny, absolutely, let's please do connect. And you're so right. I've actually thought about writing a professionalism class because I tie that in with advocacy, where I feel as if the message is so strong that the professionalism is being missed. So what the message is also missed because the person is so thrown back by the lack of professionalism. So how do we need to show up in these rooms, and what does the authentic use of self look like? It doesn't look like we don't show up as professional social workers, but yes, there are pieces of our most authentic self that we use when we come into the room. And self-care, well, we know it took NASW to a few years ago to even add it to our code that, hey, let's add self-care in there. So I want to say that happened maybe 2021. And as far as your CSWE competencies that you guys are having on your syllabi and all of that, that should start showing up in all of your classes in the next year or so if you haven't graduated, because the competencies have to be updated per the new e-passes, which I know I'm speaking a whole nother language, but know that there's change that's coming.
So before we wrap up, please you all stay on because I would
And
like.
we did have one more, Miss Eva.
Yes, before we, I get
Oh,
to,
yeah.
but I want to make sure that everyone stays on because I would like for you to provide feedback to Dr. Thompson. I'll provide a QR code. And so, Eva, yes.
Hi, I'm Eva Fernandez. Dr. Mays, you and I have been emailing each other. I work at UTSA in San Antonio, and yes, so, but I got into this call late, but I just wanted to say I loved hearing what you had to say. I love this whole setup. I think it's wonderful, but I definitely agree with the professionalism. I'm an LMSW, but I work in the Career Center at UTSA. And so one of the things I do is I go into the classroom and I talk to students about their resume, and I talk to the students about interviewing for the profession, but I also talk to them about networking and professionalism. And one of the things that we've been researching is that a lot of our, not a lot of it, but some of our students just in this generation, graduating generation, is that some of these students aren't getting past the first 90 days of probation. And some of that is due to, some of the, just the way in which we interact and the way in which we've grown, because a lot of these students that are graduating grew up right when COVID, or graduated high school right when COVID was starting. So there's a lot of things that we can do to help support, but I'm going to put my LinkedIn in the chat. Just if anybody wants to connect, I love to network and I love to connect to people. So feel free to connect with me if you're interested.
Yes, please do. We appreciate it. And it just kind of affirms what we share, right? Social workers can work in any spaces. And so the fact that you're in higher education and career services as a licensed social worker is just affirmation that, again, we can work in any space. So I appreciate that, Eva. So what I wanted to do was actually provide you with the opportunity to provide some feedback for Dr. Thompson. I appreciate you so much, and I value your time and your expertise in terms of what you have brought to us today. And I know that in terms of you being able to connect with Dr. Thompson, I know that she would not mind that at all. And so in terms of Dr. Thompson having, being connected with you all,